The scent of spice and a slight chill in the air inspires the crafting of these simple tiny witches. They may demand a diorama, where their frothy skirts can billow over autumn foliage. Later, discover the natural material that makes instant tiny pumpkins. But first, you conjure your witches, tiny figures all dressed in black. Except for one rebellious soul who insists on wearing orange. And why not? Halloween is about standing out as much as blending in. It's a humble beginning for these miniature witches. A wood skewer cut to 5 inches. Glue on a 16mm round bead, placed just so to form the head. Then paint it all black using the cut end as a handle. Thank the handle, then cut it out of your life. Stack 4 small squares of tulle fabric. Wrap these around the head bead and secure with thread. Wrapping the thread a few times helps cement the gathered fabric. Then tie the ends to transform your tulle into a little ghost shape. Now the arms. A chenille pipe cleaner, this one 4mm. Tie a 12-inch length of tulle fabric around the center of the stem. Then wind the fabric ends outward to form flowing sleeves. First one side, then the other. Wrap, then bend at the ends to secure the fabric. Find the center of your extra long arms, bend, and set aside. To form the body, you'll need a cylinder about 2 inches wide, like this 8-ounce paint bottle. Cut one length of tulle around 14 inches and lay it along the length of the bottle. Now, direct from your tulle spool, wrap around the bottle, 20 times in total. This uses about 3 to 4 yards of tulle. Once you wrap up the wrapping, tie the layers tightly, using the shorter piece you wrapped around. Slide the loops off the bottle and trim your wreath at the center to form a half-hearted pom-pom. Keep the long ends of your ties separate from the rest so you don't lose them in the froth. Grab your skewer shadow ghost and nestle it into the center of your tulle blob. Use the same tied ends to knot the witch's body core into place. Do the same thing with the arms. Knot around the center of the chenille stem and pull firmly on the ends. Now it's time to add some balance. A shift in fabric, like the shift in a changing season. Grab a small section of tulle from one side. Like a warm knit cardigan, wrap the tulle up and around the shoulders and arm. Do this on both sides. Then, watch closely, for here is where the magic happens. You gather the skirt in one hand and massage the fabric, coaxing it into a little body shape. Flip the tulle fabric ends back and forth as needed until the head is close to the center of the body mass, much like the stem of a pumpkin. Secure the shape with thread, just below the bust line. Glue on a little ribbon or strip of felt to form a belt that will keep the skirt layers in place. Use sewing pins to hold the glued ends firmly until they dry. Arm length is a matter of preference, but I think we can all agree that these are a little long. Tie thread around the wrist areas to gather the sleeves. Then trim to create simple, tiny hands. Leave the tied threads long for now, if your witches will hold hands. The witches' miniature felt hats are next. No ordinary hats for these ladies. You cut out the pieces and add a little thread to a needle. Here, you opt to use a simple whip stitch because glue on a narrow seam can be difficult to wrangle, like trying to catch a leaf in a heavy, winding wind. A few well-placed stitches later, and the tiny hat begins to take shape. Try on the brim and pull it down snug. And now you do add a little glue, just here beneath the brim. a slight tug, then a final trim. Place the hat with a little glue. Brew your black fabric witches using the exact same recipe. To link their hands, use the ends of the wrist threads to bind them together. Then, trim the thread ends. Now, these ladies wait for you to make a scene. You flip a deep wood canvas upside down, turning it into a box to cradle your vision. Visions can warp, so to protect this tiny world, you prime the surface in black and white. White for the background, black for the frame, and a soft brushed border for the space between. To create the ground cover, you slice a dollar store bath mat into a narrow strip, resembling a warm yet itchy scarf. You dampen the mat with water and layer on watery paint. With different paints, the colors shift and change, just like the real grass outside. Only this time, you're in control of the seasons. You paint the background in shades of orange with touches of white, capturing the glow of an autumn sunset. The simple blend of colors will create a striking contrast behind your tiny witches. Layers of foam board sliced into thin strips form the shallow base layer, an offering for your witches to stand upon. Now to add a symbol of the season, dark, bare trees. You cut strips of foam, carving deep grooves to mimic rough bark. Angled cuts shape the trunk and branches, emphasizing the tree's skeletal form. A coat of black paint seals the surface. You brush on a thin strip of violet paint, blending the upper corner into shadow. A dusky canvas for dark reaching branches. You secure the trunks and branches along the outer perimeters. A nature-inspired frame for the convening group. Brushing on the lightest layer of bone white paint over the black trees brings the grooved bark detail into focus. You build the base of your scene with glued layers of foam board, a sturdy foundation offering sure footing to incoming witches. You spread craft glue onto the back of the ground cover strip and spread the lawn over the foam, providing full ground coverage. Add extra depth to the shallow scene by slicing the edge off a fat foam pumpkin. Accent with a little paint and glue in place. You select dried putka pods to scatter around the scene. Tiny, segmented, and perfectly natural. Some are deformed, but that adds to the charm. Surround the pumpkins with glued piles of these tiny fall leaves, perfect for a crunchy golden glow. Customize mini faux plant clippings with black paint. Then embed them in the landscape to enhance the murky vibe. You discover these fun acrylic leaves, just slightly oversized. A wash of orange paint adds a bespoke touch and furthers the fall feel. You clip the hole away and add them to the scene with care. One final touch. Gather the 3 black gowned lasses and prepare to introduce them to their box. You drill a small foam pedestal. You push the skewers into the foam, securing them with craft glue. And now, the witches stand together, proud and strong, guardians of nature, their hands joined like paper dolls, a coven united under the darkening sky. As you step back and admire your work, you can almost hear the soft whispers of the wind through the trees, the crackle of leaves underfoot, and the distant laughter of children trick-or-treating. Your diorama is more than just a decoration. It's a portal to a place where the spirit of Halloween lives on, in miniature form. And there, in that tiny world, 3 little witches stand hand in hand, ready to cast their spells as the night grows long. Who knows what mischief they'll conjure next? Perhaps it's best not to ask, but to let your imagination wander, just as it did when you first decided to create your own little coven.